you think Mira needed a haircut? Maybe that out his pajamas once in a while? Just saying. Oh, wait, that's fine.
Kathy and I were just crimping in the washroom. And I said, so Kathy, what are you known for? And she said, oh, well, Death Note. I'm like, wait, who were you in Death Note? Oh, I was Smear. Oh my God, because I love Death Note. Death Note's awesome.
And we were just saying how that was one of the shows that was so well written, that it was really like a movie, kind of like a drama, and really, really different from some of the other shows we did. So.
But the experience of doing the show is very different than when we do prelay cartoons. Because when we do dubbing, you go into a room by yourself with just the film up, and you hear a beep in your headphones, and you start to talk to people, and you try to not just laugh on the screen. So that's the experience of dubbing, which is very, very different than us all being in the room and jamming and that kind of thing.
Yeah, ADR is more isolation chamber.
Yes.
You're in this little box by yourself, hoping that what you do matches up with what everyone else is doing.
So you rely on the director way of editing.
Oh yeah. He's the captain of the ship, so to speak.
For sure. It sounds like Tabitha. Can you do a voice to us, please?
Oh, Rarity. Let me see. I like rocks, and I make fine frogs. That is fine taste, if I do say so myself.
Are you telling me like you're really nerdy? Because if you are, maybe I could see something.
That's what's called a can of worms.
Other questions? Yes.
I guess this could go for all of you. When you guys got, I guess, your part for whatever main role you have, how did you guys feel to get that one part that you've been wanting to get? It's a weird.
I'm still waiting for it to.
Well, that's an interesting question because I don't think we really don't get, at least I think it's the same here pretty much. We don't really get to know about the characters in advance, and we don't really know about the projects in advance until we find out about the audition process. I'm pretty sure it's the same up here, is that when we're called in to audition, we're told about the character. So it's so to speak, we don't have enough time to think, oh, I really want to play this character. And most of the time, the characters that we want to play, we probably don't even exist yet until we get until we're cast in the projects. But I mean, that's.
Yeah, I don't think we think of it from the same standpoint as you guys, the viewer, does. And I think it is a bit different in LA because I was talking to somebody else at one of the other conventions, and I think they said that they got very, very little information. And I think that you guys need to get a picture or anything. Is that true?
I mean, we sometimes do, mainly for video games. Sometimes we will get a picture when auditioning, but not all the time. Usually we get called in, we go in, sometimes we don't even get to see a picture, and we do an audition, we get little information on their character history, the personality. We record the audition, and then we see what they look like later on.
Do you get it in advance to prep?
No.
See, they don't get it in advance. We
No, that's what I figured.
Really hard.
No, we don't get it in advance. We get it. I will get a call for an audition maybe a few days beforehand, and we'll receive nothing. I will receive. Sometimes they'll send you sides, but not very often. And then you'll go for a video game, for example. But for anime, most of the time they don't.
So you just show up and wing it. You go, okay, I'll read this today.
That's
wow. I am glad I live here.
Well, I mean, sometimes they'll have specific characters in mind for you, and sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes they will send you a side for that character. But then you'll go in, and sometimes they'll say, you know what, this character's not working for you. How about this character, which you did not even get to prepare for? For Lai Chi Fei Ling, the Blaze Blue games, that one I did get information in advance for, but that's really the only project in my entire career where I've gotten information ahead of time for a character that I was cast as. So, because I was already cast as her. I didn't audition with her. I was cast as her, and they said, hey, here's who you're cast as. Here's the information, and here's a little clip of her in Japanese, and that was pretty much how it started for Lai Chi. So it's tough when you don't have preparation.
We're pretty happy to get whatever we do get.
Our main animation house here is Studio B, and so the animators are right there. So we get not only pictures, but what she means by sides is that they pull lines from the characters. You just get, you probably know that. So you just get an amalgam of samples of what the characters. So you get a pretty good idea. But we most often get drawings and often descriptions, the whole series, and I really like it when they give me the roles I want.
I mean, there are definitely certain like iconic roles when you land something big that it's, of course, it feels like Barbie, and it feels amazing because it's such a privilege to be given that opportunity. But also, I mean, any role is great. You want all the ones that you try out for. So whenever anyone comes up to say, "Hey, you get to pick your red this month,"
Exactly. And sometimes you get roles that you didn't think you were going to get, and you get, and vice versa. So
those are almost as exciting when you go up and you're like, "Oh, I really don't know if I'm right for this, but I'm going to take a chance and read it because maybe let's just give it a shot."
So
and then you get a call.
capture
I, however, know that I was always jealous of Kelly's roles because you usually play the teenage girl.
The ingenue.
Yes, and I'm always so jealous of that because most of the women that I play are very over-the-top sensual, very over-the-top sexy, or little girls that haven't even developed anything yet. So, it's a huge jump. But I will say that I wanted to be in the Nana dub. And when I found out that Kelly was cast as Nana, I was like, I am gonna no. So there's a lot more Nana though. But still, I thought to myself, I don't care. I wanted to be a part of that show because I saw it a long time ago, and it's a great show. Definitely, I love how it's very soap opera-ish.
Oh, it's so fun. We have so much fun.
It's a good show. And I thought to myself, I don't care which Nana I play. I want to play one of the Nanas, and then you guys go.
You're making me hungry for Nan Bit.
So there's a role that I wanted that I didn't get.
Oh, there's lots of those.
Thanks, Kelly. Sorry.
Kelly,
Anybody else? Yeah.
So, first a comment. What you're telling me is that Canadian voice actors are a little bit pampered.
Maybe.
In some ways and not other ways.
In LA, we get our
In
hands.
some ways and not
Toronto.
others.
I work there. No.
So, what is your favorite character to voice? What's that voice that it's like you'll be out there on like regular day life and you'll be like, that's my other voice kind of thing.
I don't think there is one for us. We're really happy to have the opportunities and the ranges that we get. I mean, maybe, I know for myself, when I played Cyber 6, it was my favorite because the lead character, it just had so much dimension and it was very European and it had all these angles, the coloration was new, like there's a lot of interesting things about the show. And I got to actually get, play a lead in it, so we get to act more bits and pieces along. So that, for me, that's what happened. Something I enjoyed.
I felt like I was talking a lot the last time.
No. Not too worried. Actually, I would really like to. Can I hear one of your Buffalo voices? Just so I haven't heard them before.
Do it!
That's one.
Do it! My other voice that I love to use is very breathy. It's way down low. Anything I'm over
Very, very low.
I am not over exaggerating. This is how deep I can go. And this is often one
That's your voice. What about this? That's you. That is you.
All right, dude, listen, you gotta shut up about that. You're being really annoying, Kathy, okay? Sorry. I didn't get to do it that way, but next time I'll make sure that I hit my manners.
The last anime role that I had was Kyoko Sakura from Magica, and she's
All the way up here. She's really annoying.
Madoka Magica.
That is a good anime.
Good anime? It's awesome. It's very, very good. It's very, very good
What
show.
are my favorite characters?
from real mom voices and the recent. Are we allowed to do?
I don't know if we're allowed to talk about the shooting side of thing, but maybe we should. But that was something I was going to bring up. Is I get to play a villain in this show that Tabitha and I are doing right now.
Yeah.
Awesome. Which is so fun. I think for females, playing villains is so much fun.
Oh, it's so fun.
Because they're usually very crazy. I love it. Or very psychotic. You know, if you play and don't get me wrong, Barbie, is fantastic. She's great. It's a great role to play, but it's fun being able to play something that's really broad and silly, and where you can just really play around and have fun with it, not worry about, I guess, fitting into a certain.
Not worrying about being proper for the sake of decorum. Heck with that.
Tabitha and I we got ourselves a trailer, so we're going to go and stay that tonight. We're going to
Because we're going to take a little fishing trip tomorrow. Going to get some salmon. I like my tail off the
Look into
What is that? What is this? This is Big Eye. Big Eye looking at me. I want to put Big John and Vice. What is this?
This is 12.
What?
12.
Well, of course. Of course you know what that is. Of course.
Well, what are we going on down here?
Oh, we were exchanging recipes.
Hanging out.
I'm talking about my shortbread and also the potatoes that I cultivate out there in the field.
My snowball cookies.
Yeah, you got nice shortbread and something, banana bread going on?
Yeah, I make a wonderful onion stew, but
Would you like to come in and join us?
sure.
Not up here. You gotta sit there.
Because it is the voice panel of the women, you see. So.
And you
As a title.
are lacking in that category.
Oh,
No
I've told
offense.
that before.
Please join us.
I actually have a question for Kelly.
Yeah.
I want to know how you felt when you were cast as Barbie, because that's a huge deal. Barbie is like a role model to little girls.
I have to tell you, until the first one we did, which is Barbie and the Nutcracker, until the DVD was on the shelf, actually it's a VHS back then, VHS, so it was like 12 years ago, until it was printed and put on the shelves in Walmart or whatever it was, I didn't tell anybody, because it just seemed too good to be true. You get the call and then you get the call back, and you're thinking, you hear that they're casting all over the place, LA and Toronto, et cetera, et cetera. And then, okay, we cast great, and working with the director I'd never worked with before, going, oh, by the way, Tim Curry's your co-star, he's showing up in 20 minutes. Oh my God, I love Tim Curry. Trying not to be stupid in front of him.
Love Tim Curry.
Oh, he's amazing. And spending the whole day just trying to not be a nerd in front of Tim Curry and do your job and thinking he's messed up, and then waiting a year until it's actually produced and put on the shelves. It's incredible. I kind of didn't believe it until it was done. And there's still times I can't believe it 12 years later, 19 movies later. And you do your job when you get replaced.
I was just gonna say, and you never know, because you didn't want to get all hyped up after one film, because you never know if you're going to be recast or not.
You don't want a celebrity and
Absolutely. Unfortunately, that's the way the voiceover industry is
budget.
going right now.
Go to different towns.
yeah, but it's incredible. Mostly for all the kids that I hear from or parents that say that it's so nice to have a movie that they can sit down and watch with their kids, and people that are, because we've been making them for so long, people that started watching them when they were in elementary school and are now teenagers or in university that still secretly watch them with because they never had that growing up. They never had Barbie movies growing up. There were only the dolls. Yeah, not for us. Yeah. So I think that's great. It's pretty cool.
More questions? Yes, sir.
We were talking before about how often in advance you might receive copy for auditions. What about after you book a role, before you go in to record, is it typical to receive your lines before you go in?
Get the whole script usually. Yeah. Well, not
Really?
Not always.
No. We don't get the script ahead of time.
sang for the stuff like for all the ADR.
Hi guys, welcome. Hey guys. Hi Gary.
This is the ladies at voiceover acting panel.
I just wanted to ask you,
Yeah. What?
if someone asks you to do a man's voice, do you get offended?
No. I just say how much you're gonna pay for that one, eh?
Okay, just so to know.
Yeah.
That's nothing that you guys are. You're just talking about how sometimes we don't have any boys in here. Once in a blue moon.
I'm already here.
Backseat paneling.
You're already staying there. Just
Oh, we're gonna hijack. This is what it's like. Yeah.
See, it's starting. The guys have come in and it's starting.
No, we all
They're
decided.
trying to overtake us. It's not going to happen, buddy.
The cat's over here. We're all in.
Sam's up there.
Question. I just had a comment for Kelly. When I was growing up, I had a lot of Barbie movies, and I just want to say, like, Barbie, like, she was my role model, so I'm just.
Imagine how gratifying that is and how rewarding that is.
It's fantastic.
You know, that's one of the reasons why I made a website, to
Feel gratified to have all these emails from people talking about, watching movies with their kids and enjoying it. That's pretty amazing.
It's nice to have that kind of thing. You become popular with the
Yeah.
kids and values and stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
Could you do Shampoo and Ukio fighting over Ranma?
Hi, Ranma takes a good date. Oh, Akane, I don't know. I like a date for Ranma. Poor Moose. Moose keep trying and trying, but I just love Ranma.
Oh yeah.
That's amazing.
I tried okonomiyaki actually for the first time when I went to Japan. It's delicious. You guys had okonomiyaki?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's amazing.
It's hard to
like,
say.
it's like Japanese omelet pizza. It's fantastic. And you go to the restaurant and there's like a grill in the middle and the lady comes over and she like puts all the stuff on the grill, potato and egg and fish flakes and chopped up shrimp. Oh my god, it's so good. It's so
It's like everything on a pizza.
I told you you're talking. Yeah, it's like just an egg and like the egg is a receptacle for all sorts of crazy.
She's done too much Barbie.
It's really good, yeah.
That sounds good.
Super yummy.
Is it hard playing a character who's 100% your opposite personality?
No.
We go over my personalities.
I have many.
The same.
I have many personalities. You might say I'm another Sybil. No.
Those are the fun ones. They are the fun ones, yeah. When you're able to play something that's not in your realm of normality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard because then we'd have to identify what we think we are like. We'd have to identify our own personalities, which
That is so
is a
true.
bit self-reflecting, and that's kind of all.
That's a very good answer.
Well, so many
So
people
true.
see us differently than we see ourselves often, and you're kind of lucky on the way if someone sees you the way you think you are, I think. Yeah.
It's certainly fun, like Kelly said, to, when you get to play the opposite of what you're outside of the norm, I guess. Yeah, it's definitely a lot of fun too.
And it takes a lot of energy. When you have to do an episode, if you're a lead character and you're doing a crazy, whacked out, very, very high energy, like, maybe Pinkie Pie, for example, if Vander's like just go to town with that the whole time, it's, pretty tiring to me. So
She's really quite,
she's awesome.
quite contained in
Her
her daily
daily
life.
Yeah.
And I get letters from people saying, I really identify with your character, Rarity, because I also don't like to get dirty or whatever. The least hippie you've ever seen. I write my own sauerkraut, right?
I saw a hand way back.
Hi, I have a question for all of you in general. When you're working with a new voice and you're experimenting with when they're in certain moods or expressions, sometimes when there's a lot of shouting, screaming, and all that. Do you find it sometimes it's difficult to make it sound natural, that character's voice, and then it sort of merges with another one of your characters that you're used to it?
Well, in that case, that's that's, you know, your job, but at the same time the director's job and the engineer's job to listen for it and say, no, you sound too much like this character or something. If they've worked with you before. I know that I just worked on a game that I can't talk about yet, where it was a sequel to another game that I was in. It's completely two different games, but it's part of a franchise. And the client had worked with me beforehand on the other game and said, you know what, you're getting a little too close to that character. We gotta bring it up or bring it down a little bit. So it's pretty much a team effort. You know, you have to listen to it's hard to listen to your own voice because you hear it differently than other people might. So, you know, the engineer will say, you know what, that's going a little too high for what we want, or that's going a little too low. It's basically, they're an objective point of view pretty much. So you have to listen to what they are telling you of how you sound. You know, you sound too low for this. Okay, we'll bring it a pitch up. So it's, you know, for me personally, it sometimes is difficult, especially when you're yelling and screaming in a video game. Because I know that when I yell and scream, I have a tendency to go very high-pitched. Yeah. So, you know, for that example, it's a little difficult.
I mean, if you take Dragon Ball Z, or any of the Dragon Balls, and you've got Goku doing this, you know, I played young Trunks in one of the shows, and I'm doing this for like entire episode, screaming and yelling the entire episode.
Yeah.
And we thought we were going to die. And then there's other shows where we have to. It's very, very physical. So we're rolling down hills, or we're falling off cliffs, or we're fighting constantly in the show. And you know, sometimes you got to bring a lozenge in there, and or have water with you, just because it's taxing for that length of time. So
especially when you're voice acting a Spike, like a male character.
Yeah.
And when you have to shout and all that stuff, it still sounds quite natural, but it's not that range within that range where it does.
Well, you know, the whole voice thing is interesting because, I mean, they sort of not slipped, they did a preview of the season 3 where Spike sang a little ditty. And I remember thinking to myself when we did the session, please God, let it be in his range. Because I have to stay as him, which is already changing the voice to that placement. And then I have to sing in tune, but then retain his character. And he, you know, to only go so high and yet bring energy to the role is kind of a bit of a dance. So you kind of, you hope that it's in the range, because that's another thing. Sometimes it isn't, and they have to transpose it down.
When you have to sing as a character, it's terrifying. Because, you know, especially if it's dubbed, if you're dubbing it in English, Japanese lyrics and English lyrics do not match well. So it's very, very strange. So you have to translate the song as well, and you have to go with the original key and the original notes that the original music is going by. It's terrifying because you don't want to make it sound terrible. So I can imagine that.
Generally speaking, in Japanese scripts, they use they're much more there's much more words, and for where we might say, "I love you, would you like some tea?" A Japanese script might say, "Your hair is like the moonlight and the seriously." And so we get these flaps, the character's mouth moving, far more than we have dialogue oftentimes. So you kind of have to pad the dialogue a little bit. So you end up saying the other character's name around. And there's a lot of creative license that happens.
Oh yeah, when you have to add words and then take away words. If you see random pauses with anime specifically, if you see, I don't know. That's not our fault. That's the animator's fault. So when people say, "Oh, that sounded terrible," that was a terrible write. Oh God.
It's like doing normal voiceover for like narrations even, or TV commercials. You know, if you've got a beer commercial and it's panning across this gorgeous, field or something, and you say, "God, come here." Like, and you're like, or narration. I mean, you can go on, and it's like, you want me to talk how slow? Yeah, and sound natural. Oh, and by the way, you're a farmer, but you're representing a Calgary fertilizing chemical company, so you're kind of a scientist as well as you are a farmer.
It's so like that. I know that I will get very, very strange, detailed descriptions like that in audition pieces, and I can't remember the most ridiculous one, but I will try to. But they can be so funny sometimes. Like, it's pretty much like that. You're a farmer, but a scientist as well. But warm and fuzzy. It's very...
But we need energy.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's a very strange combo.
Our job is so hard, you guys.
We get so tired.
I want wine. I had an audition for a commercial once, and the line was, yeah, yeah. That's what I got to say. So I said, yeah, yeah. And the director said, no, it's not yeah, yeah, it's yeah, yeah. And he said it exactly the same way. So I went, yeah, yeah. He said, no. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Absolutely identical all the way through.
It totally happens. Absolutely. You'll say something like that, and then the director was like, nope, that's not it. I just said that.
And then you're gone. You don't know what the heck you're talking about. And your brain's off on, Wednesday mornings.
I had a director from San Francisco tell me once, actually, we pronounce it escape down here. Escape? We pronounce it escape.
Down where? Somebody's basement? Subterranean.
He was on a phone patch, so he wasn't there in the room. And I looked. It was at Coco, so I looked into the engineer, Chris, sitting there, and he was looking at the keyboard.
Going, I'm praying for you right now.
Okay. Well, are you sure? Because I'm pretty. What do you say? Okay. So I said the letter. I'm like, I'm just gonna do it as crackly as possible, so that they'll never choose that take, and hopefully someone will hear it and go, no, that's not right. Let's put it.
Have they used it?
I don't know if they used it actually, but just for joy. But yeah,
You don't know what you're gonna get sometimes.
I saw one way in the back.
Just wondering, when you're doing dub work, is there any sort of set schedule, like, you have to do 4 episodes within a certain time period, or is it usually just as quickly as you can get quality voice work done?
How is it up here?
Yes.
Yes, it changes.
Well, they book you for a particular time slot, and some people are faster at it than other people. So but there's this. I don't really know how they decide, but yeah, they do book you for a time frame.
I mean, if you have an ADR kind of show versus a prelay, ADR being the lip syncing that we do to the picture, like the anime stuff, and a prelay being us as a group of actors in a group with the director going scene by scene. So it is really very, very different, but when you're in the, you have to follow along the director, et cetera, it's just a totally different ball of wax.
You can get through more ADR just because you only are reading your lines in the studio. So you can do 4 episodes of something in a 4-hour call, whereas for prelay you do a half-hour episode in a 4-hour call because everyone's there doing all their stuff together.
And all of our lines are different. So if you're the lead in the show, you could be going there for 3, 4, 5, 6 hours. You could have to take a lunch break and come back again and continue. But if you're just going in for an hour, then you can just block all your lines in a bunch, whether it's page 3 or 25 or 102.
Unless you ask, though, they never fully tell you, okay, we have 2 weeks to finish this project. Sometimes they do, but not every single project. They won't say, okay, we have 2 weeks to finish this. We don't know the total time that they have to record the project, but as Tabitha said, they give us time slots. So 2 to 6 or 1 to 3, something like that. It's basically like working at a day job, pretty much. You are scheduled to work here from this time to that. It's pretty much the same thing. So
this probably applies to all of you, but especially probably Lauren because of the fighting games. But when you have to do these voices, like falling down a hill, like you said, or you've been hit or KO'd.
KO!
Yeah, exactly. when you're getting knocked out and you're having to do all these squeals, moans, do you ever just lose your shit and just break out laughing?
Absolutely, because especially for females, every time you give a how does that sound? Absolutely. There are moments where I will start cracking up, absolutely, especially since in some fighting games, some of the characters that I played have the most ridiculous, random lines. Like, one of my characters said, "Shut up, Tool!" Something like that. but the line was, she knows something dirty's coming. The line was, juicy party, yay! And I don't know what the context was. I swear
We all have visuals.
Yes, I do not know to this day because I have not gotten to that part of the game. But for
Many
those,
have, I'm sure.
Oh, okay. So I guess we have. Get ladies. I don't know if you want to answer that question.
I forgot the question.
I'm just thinking juicy party yay.
Yeah.
Well, one of the funniest things that happens is when you have some big dramatic scene, you're crying, some big break, whatever it is, some big dramatic thing, and you finish the line. So anyways, you guys it's great instantly, and you're talking to the engineer, the director, whoever about like, I don't know, what you watched on TV last night or something. Okay, let's do another one, or let's go on to the next one. Go on, you know! Hey, so I'm that happens all the time.
I just did a photo shoot in Vegas actually, and I had a moment where, you know, it was very dramatic, and finally I started cracking up because my friend's husband was cueing the smoke machine. He didn't have to, but he was trying to be professional. He's like, smoke coming! You know, just every 5 minutes, and every time he would do that, I would start
Change the crowd, didn't it?
Absolutely! So I would start cracking up and just, you know, it's exactly like that, so I just remembered that, but yeah.
And it's so funny because when we're doing work in the studio, it's almost like an automatic thing. You're chatting, you're laughing, you're talking to each other, blah, 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 and then the director will say, okay, you guys, and boom.
Yeah.
We're just ready. You know, we're just boom.
What cracks me up the most are people's errors, how they make their errors, and when they make their errors, what their button of it is. Because a lot of people make their errors really big. They'll say a line like, "I'm sorry I hit you. I'm sorry I'm not," and they'll just, you know, they know they've derailed, so they just go big or they go home. So,
yeah, because you can't finish the line anyway, so why not have fun with it?
Yeah. Oh, people do a big wind up to something. Have you ever seen like Andy Francis does that all the time? Oh, he does a full body with a and then sometimes he doesn't get there.
Sam does that a lot too.
Yeah.
I have these dangerous. I have to stand in them all the time.
It's like
You can show us later.
Yeah. Sorry, did you
Man.
something else?
Do you find it easier, or do you find it a habit, like when you're supposed to put a lot of like expression into a line you're given, you're supposed to be really angry, face contorts and you're really angry. So is it a habit, or is it just like really easy to get to that expression before you do line?
Well, we do a lot of physicalizing. You have to, but you can't move around and you can't thump on the carpet because the mic will pick that up. So you see a lot of tension in bodies and a lot of kind of, you know, gearing up physically, and but it's like a small explosion because you can't get bigger than your personal space.
Yeah.
Like, this right here.
The mic can pick up what you had for breakfast.
Yeah.
So you seriously don't have
Often does.
But
you know what's interesting about the whole yelling thing is like it's an interesting dynamic when we're in the studio doing calls or yelling out. You have to get a sense from the director in many cases how far you actually are projecting. So they give you that visual or that setting. But it's different, like if you're a theater performer versus a television actor, you know, I think animation is somewhere in between. But a lot of people want to use their diaphragms. Like a lot of singers want to use their diaphragms. So they're talking like this and it blows the mic. So you can't do that. So you have to use kind of this part of your body to still project, but not just go for it. Because on stage you would for theater. But when you're on a mic, you're on a mic. So there is a parameter that you can't go past. Really.
I know when a character of mine is very emotional or very angry, I clench my fist really tight, you know, to feel that tension so I can sound as pissed off as I am or the character is. And I find that after I'm done, I have nail marks in my hand. And, you know, ow, I know, it stings. And then when a character is very emotional or sad, I feel my face just freeze like this. And even after the take's done, I'm just standing there in front of the mic.
You're trying to revive
you know,
her.
it doesn't work. Yeah. But it helps. Physicality absolutely helps so much. But again, like Tabitha said, we can't move around too much because the mic picks up everything.
We're wrapped in bubble wrap when we perform.
Mr. Sandvitz, did you have a question?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, what is that?
When a lot of female voice actors are portraying young boys in anime and things like that, and I don't have Kathy, I don't know, kind of. But when it comes
It's okay,
to that,
darling, I'm done.
yeah,
Hi, Sam, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. So I know there's a vocal quality you need to get when portraying a boy, like the raspiness and all that stuff. But is there a certain like a mindset, or what do you guys grab onto when it comes to portraying boys?
Scratch, jump.
You can follow young boys and watch from schoolyard parameters.
But is it something that
You are like a group.
Right?
Girls have.
That was you. Behind a tree. I personally see myself as the boy.
Right.
So I am the boy. So I'm physically him. And if I'm physically him, it's not like putting on qualities I would imagine him to sound like, but I become him. So,
right.
You know, if he's a chubbier boy like that, I just got lots of weight on me and stuff like that. Are you gonna eat that?
and I become the boy. That's what I personally do.
Definitely depends on the character. Absolutely. One of my characters was a military brat, so I found myself standing very properly, and yeah, pretty much. And you know, his mother was the captain of the ship, or the admiral, excuse me, and he was raised in a military environment, so he was very proper, very just do not mess with me. And he was 10 years old, and he was still very proper and mature and military.
And that vocal, because I know, you know, we're different women. Some women can do boys and some women don't, or they
I'm a dope.
Like,
my white whale.
Yeah, exactly.
White whale's like an elephant.
And sometimes we try it, it just doesn't work, and then, okay, it's fine. But is it something that you just found, like, there's a natural, you could find that little bit of raspiness there, and you just developed and worked on, or is it one of these things that just one day you just was like, oh, I can do this?
You know what? I find with some of the real boy voices, like,
If you're talking like that, that is so cool. If you were going on a hockey game today, hey Dad, you want to come over here?
like there's this range,
Right.
but not all women have the biology for the range. So if they're really high pitched, then they would probably do the cartoony boys more likely.
Like this sort of thing, talking like this. Hey, look out, you guys at school.
And that's where they're going to be.
Right.
But if you have a lower voice, or you have an alto voice, or tenor-ish female kind of voice, your chances, you're going to have biology.
Part of it's the mechanics of it, like you just have that type of voice box.
So it's not my fault?
It's not your fault.
It is.
I'm just
It's
born
all
this way.
right.
You're Barbie,
And
nothing.
you're Barbie, for God's sake.
I think we may have time for one more question, too.
One more story, yeah.
Okay, so is there? Okay, go ahead, Devin.
When you guys are doing multiple characters in the same show, and if they're in the same scene together, do you find, is it easier for you to do it where it's multiple takes of each character, or do you bounce back and forth in one take?
Oh no. At least that's not what I did. I played two characters in the same show a long time ago in a show called Magical Girl Lyrical Landa. I played Arfin Krona Harlem in that. And they were in scenes together, but no, you don't bounce back. You actually set different time slots for each character because they're different. Or maybe for the first half you'll do one character, and then during the second half of the time slot, the scheduled recording, then you'll play the other character. But as for recording one line and then the next line is the next character, no, I've never done that, and I don't think
We do that.
you do, really?
Yeah.
Crazy.
We almost do, I know.
Yeah, that's one of the most interesting things to watch an actor, or listen to an actor, I guess, flip back, have a conversation with themselves.
I mean, in My Little Pony, Andrea and Ashley are going back and forth constantly between their characters, Rainbow Dash and Applejack and Fluttershy and Pinkie Pie, so they're doing it pretty much all.
But to be fair, I have been in sessions, or I have done sessions where they're in a conversation with each other, and it is easier just to record one half of the conversation and someone else is reading with you, and then to go back.
It does happen.
Yeah, it just kind of depends on.
Tabitha, you're playing 5 characters at once a year.
Sorry?
The one we're doing right now, I don't know if we can talk about it.
Oh, yeah, we can.
Yeah, you do.
We have I don't think we.
There's a list, there's a list.
So I know, but you're doing 5 all at once. Some episodes.
That's insane. Yeah.